A brand new Disney theme park has been announced to come to the UAE, and it looks strange, to say the least. Testing has taken place on some new rides, trains and track have been spotted for others, a dark ride or B&M Giga could be coming to Florida. And speaking of, a new dark ride has opened its doors here in the UK, along with another roller coaster here getting stuck and valleying. It's been a crazy week because all that and even more has happened this past week in theme parks. Yes, welcome back to the only series created by me that has actually remained somewhat consistent this past week in theme parks, where I cover the news at theme parks over the past 7 days. And as said, there's been a crazy amount of news pieces. So if you want to skip to specific stories, use the video progress bar chapters below. And use that subscribe button if you haven't already. I do this series weekly, alongside various other interesting speculation and creative videos, all whilst having a laugh. And yeah, these videos do take a while to make, so any support would be greatly appreciated. And what you'll also appreciate is the fact that right now, like this moment, I've just decided to do the quickfire segment again. Yes, can't wait for this. The smaller news pieces that don't require as much in-depth talking, because the first one especially, what else do I say about it? Because Nemesis Terra at Alton Towers has a brand new cover over its batching area. You see what I mean? What am I supposed to say to that? Busch Gardens Williamsburg are planning a major new development between the Loch Ness Monster and San Marco. Now, I don't know the park too well, but this does look like a very big plot of land, so it could just be a family area or something huge, potentially opening next year. Blue Hawk at Six Flags Over Georgia has reopened after a very long period of downtime, although that happened on the 3rd of May, which means it's technically not in the past week. Might as well cancel the series. Mama Melrose's Ristorante Italiano, God, my pronunciation is incredible, is now permanently closed at Disney's Hollywood Studios in Florida to make way for part of that brand new Monsters Inc. land. Going from a nice Italian restaurant to this on the outside. Loads of people going to be eyeing up that one.
I don't think it's funny.
Sticking in Florida, Busch Gardens Tampa Bay have been busy demolishing Scorpion. Look at it now. This old Schwarzkopf roller coaster just fully dismantled and destroyed. God damn it. Seaworld Orlando as well have actually opened Expedition Odyssey, their flying theatre, this week as well. I thought it was last week, but I was wrong. And some of the amazing reviews that have come from it are, the screen is really low quality. The sign falls off. The ride is awful, and it is one of the worst rides ever created. God, you're really making me want to go on it now. Universal Orlando Resort did tweet this. Oh God, there was yet another fire at Epcot, this time in a popcorn van. Nighthawk at Carowinds, the world's first Vekoma flying coaster, met its demise recently, which a lot of people are very thankful for. But a piece of that track and the train has actually made its way to a national roller coaster museum, although the museum isn't open to the public. Maybe it will one day. Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk is getting a brand new ride soon. Steel Curtain at Kennywood reopens on the 24th of May, and that was confirmed in the past week with some testing taking place as well, which they appear to have put trim brakes on some of it that are retractable. So it's not the end of the world just yet, but could be if they decide to turn them on. Barracks is partnering with Fuji-Q Highland to create a new skate plaza in Japan. This past week in skate parks, Walibi Belgium is set to be closed on many dates throughout May, so be sure to check if you are actually going at any point, because when I saw that this was happening, I was scared that when I'm going, I wouldn't be able to anymore. Hersheypark's brand new S&S Scream and Swing is finally testing that concrete elevated Scream and Swing, world's first by the way, and that looks extremely tall and extremely fun. Top Thrill 2 actually did open, and in 2024 it opened for a matter of days. This year it has beaten that and has been open for more days than it was previously, so well done Top Thrill 2, you did what a roller coaster is supposed to do. The track we saw last week being fabricated at the Clermont Steel Place has now arrived on site at Six Flags Over Texas, and that is for their B&M Giga coaster coming soon. Siren's Curse at Cedar Point has been continuously testing its tilt track in preparation for its actual full circuit testing, and Liseberg's brand new ride that's in between the Helix on Valkyria, that new flat ride, the breakdance, is now testing, as you can see from this video here. Now that was a very calm quick fire segment, wasn't it? I rather enjoyed that, you know. The gun is... Now, there is quite a few things to talk about that require a little bit more discussion, such as the fact Busch Gardens Tampa Bay in Florida have now teased a potential B&M Giga coaster. That is right, in a survey sent out to pass holders and I think the general public as well, Busch Gardens did ask about what people want to see at the park, and they've done this, I think, literally previous weeks. But the only real mention we got was a tall and fast roller coaster, which could literally be anything. Maybe Kingda Car's getting relocated, but they have now shown actual imagery of what they expect this to look like and basically told us what could be coming in its entirety. Soaring over 300 foot tall and reaching speeds over 90 miles an hour, this coaster at Busch Gardens Tampa delivers an adrenaline pumping experience through massive drops, high speed turns, and moments of weightlessness. Blending cutting-edge thrills with the natural beauty of the Serengeti Plain, it's a record-breaking ride that redefines the park's skyline. Even that looks like it's written by AI. But again, AI aside, it does seem like this could be a B&M Giga roller coaster, which at Busch Gardens Tampa would be crazy. But even on top of that, the Orlando Seaworld as well has had a survey released very similarly to Busch Gardens, and that shows a coaster that has an experience unlike any other and is a dynamic coaster that will take riders through a series of extreme elements, including a vertical launch, inversions, moments of weightlessness, high-speed turns, and more, all in an open-field vehicle. What the Additionally, riders will experience unique track elements which will build the anticipation at the beginning of the experience. This just sounds like Voltron. So maybe we will see something like that in the future at SeaWorld, but these surveys are very, very interesting. What's also very interesting is what Clementon Park and Splash World have announced, because they have shown that their classic wooden roller coaster Hellcat will be RMC'd. Not like most wooden coasters are, where they add all these outer banks and all zero-G stall. This seems to purely be a retrack of the ride to make it a whole lot smoother. And they released this video to go with it, and you might notice something about the animation of the ride. Yeah, that is Planet Coaster. The last time Planet Coaster was used for an announcement was yet another wooden roller coaster, so I don't know what's appealing about that, but I found that really funny, although it is very, very good to see all of this track being replaced. Universal Studios Hollywood has had Hollywood Drift's trains been delivered to the park, and they've been spotted by many enthusiasts outside where you can see into the maintenance area, and they are lifting these trains into place, and they're currently covered, so we don't know what they look like. And these individual cars will be spinning as the ride goes round. Not exactly like free spinning, and not really controlled spinning 360, but more so sequenced with the ride, so you are sort of drifting as you go along, and it might even go backwards at some point as well. I think this coaster is going to be top notch, and I really can't wait to see when that starts testing. Millennium Force over at Cedar Point has valleyed, and it's not the only one to valley this week. I believe the wind was pretty high that day and the weather wasn't exactly great, so they obviously sent Millennium Force anyway to try and get it round testing, and yeah, it valleyed. They say that ride has so much airtime and is very intense. Sitting there in the middle of a valley, very intense, I'd say. But no, it does always suck when these rides do valley, because who wants to see their favourite coasters valleying? Not us in the UK for sure. A MACK Rides box has been spotted at a park in France that will potentially be getting a MACK Stryker launch coaster in 2027. And as much as this park does have a MACK Mega Coaster, which could mean that this box is literally just for that, it is interesting to see. So yeah, let's see how that one develops. As I'm intrigued to see the 1,000 foot tall roller coaster that's been rumoured and also been sort of confirmed to happen one day develop as well. Because in the very first episode of this series this year, I spoke about a 1,000 foot tall roller coaster in this article that had been released, and it was very, very intriguing. But now, Dennis Spiegel of International Theme Park Services, a consultancy agency with a long history in the industry, they were on a podcast and they actually spoke about the fact they're under NDA, so they couldn't really speak about anything, but did say in the very near future the public will be able to experience a 1,000 foot tall roller coaster somewhere. The fact he's been put under NDA and now he's saying that we might be able to experience something like that in the future, I can't believe this if this is real. I can't imagine a 1,000 foot tall one. But I once did show in Planet Coaster that it is possible. Whether or not it can be real is a completely other story, but I guess we'll see what happens with that. And with that being said, let's go over to the UK quickly before we get to our probably main point of news for this week. An old theme park called Camelot has been rumoured to be reopening and maybe being redeveloped, and that was extremely interesting. But since then, in the past week, there's been a lot of news stories about the fact that that Camelot theme park site might just become a 350 home residential place. There will be a community hub and associated habitat creation, landscaping, open space parking, footpaths, drainage systems. Again, this past week in-house residential places. But yeah, I don't think Camelot theme park will return. Oh god. And I'll eat my shoe if it does. This one I think is unlikely, so that will not be happening. A new dark ride has opened at Skegness Pleasure Beach called Jurassic Resurrection. We talked about this a few weeks back with the trailer they released and the fact it was going to open soon, but yeah, apparently it is open now, which it looks really good for a Pleasure Beach park. Talking of Pleasure Beach parks, Blackpool Pleasure Beach have announced that Grand National will be opening in June. Their extremely old wooden roller coaster that's somehow not the oldest in the park has undergone a massive maintenance project and also loads of refurbishments, so yeah, that's coming back next month. Legoland have started work on their brand new ride or shop, or I don't know, the building to the right as you enter the park when you go down the hill. That's been many things over the years, and there is now a lot of construction work happening within that building and outside of it. There has been some more news coming in on Universal Studios Great Britain about when we could see planning permission granted and when we'll see certain announcements and stuff, but we will talk about that in the field, so be sure to watch that if you haven't already. We talk about the new Universal Park in the UK from the site of it, so yeah, go check that out. On top of that, Rita at Alton Towers, of course, alongside Stealth at Thorpe Park, has had a lot of downtime recently, but this time, unlike Stealth, there has actually been some activity around Rita, with some what looks like pressure or gas cylinders delivered to the site, and they've been putting them somewhere because they've been disappearing slowly, and there has been work happening on that launch cable as well, so we believe that was the problem. The cable of the launch, that's why it wasn't working. So hopefully with these brand new gas cylinders, they can actually make the ride work and sadly reopen it. And then I'm going to have to ride it all day. Pray for me. But another ride in the country that I actually do like this time, and that currently isn't operating very much, is Gold Rush at Drayton Manor. This Intamin roller coaster has some very strange elements on it with loads of switch tracks and just a very confusing layout. But you may be thinking the reason it's not been running is because maybe the switch tracks are having problems, there's a technical issue. It just keeps getting stuck and keeps valleying, because 2 weeks ago this happened, and it's happened again this week. I'll show you the POV. Of course, you go into that amazing launch building, and of course you launch out backwards. This is on cycle 1, I think, at this time. Launching out backwards, you go down a bit, round an overbank, and then you go into these twisty sections, and there, just before the twisty sections and after the overbank, it somehow has managed to valley twice in 2 weeks, and I just don't get how, unless the launch just hasn't been powerful enough and there's a problem with that. It's so strange to me. And yeah, if I had £1 for every roller coaster that's gold and opened in 2024 that has valleyed this year, I'd have £2, which isn't much, but it's weird it happened twice. I genuinely do not understand how it keeps valleying there. Physics does not agree with me on this one. However, the main piece of news this past week is of course the huge announcement from Disney that they will be building a brand new theme park in Abu Dhabi. We had Universal Great Britain a few weeks ago, and now we've got Disney Abu Dhabi. They announced it by pretty much doing a huge firework and drone show, and they have these massive drones come up. I've never seen so many of them, and create the Disney castle right in front of everyone, and then it sort of changed into this weird swirl flower looking thing, and above said Disney Abu Dhabi, and yeah, the park was then announced. The park will be situated on the waterfront, so it'll probably have a really nice view of just the water, obviously, and speculation has arose that this is what the park layout will look like. Of course, Ferrari World is in that area as well, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix track too, and it will not be far from those, so yeah, it's going to be a pretty mental place for theme parks. There's a main concept art of what that castle is going to look like, and I wouldn't even call it a castle because what on earth is it? It looks like a spire. Like a glass twisting spire. I don't know how that fits in with the Disney lineup. And along with that, we got our first look at a concept art of the park. And yeah, it's a bit of a strange concept art because obviously it looks like it's just fully painted. and everything's just been brushed all the way up. So unlike the Universal Great Britain news, you can't really make out anything in this one, but there looks to be some taller rides. Maybe that's Big Thunder Mountain in the background, maybe that's Tron off to the left. I've got no clue. The park is supposedly going to open in 2030, which is before Universal Great Britain again. I keep referencing that because I feel like this is just a ploy to get back at Universal. They would have done this anyway, but I feel like it's so weirdly timed with the fact that Great Britain got announced very recently, and now this. It's a battle, it's a war. But the fact they're going to try and open it by 2030 is mental. Disney usually take about 17 years to build a single ride, so let's see if they can do it with a theme park in 5. I don't want to go into it too much, of course, but Abu Dhabi and that park's choice of placement, there is obviously some political points to that are very, very strange. Disney parks obviously make inclusion one of their main priorities when they build a theme park. Abu Dhabi at the moment does not fit that criteria. The region it's in has done a lot of research before, and they know it's going to bring in a lot of people, which in 5 years' time and beyond, I really hope does give them the chance to better their stance on human rights. So by the time it does open, or just beforehand, that inclusion key that they spoke about does actually stand with them. And yeah, as much as I would have just mentioned the Disney park, there of course has been that huge debate online, so I had to mention it. So if anyone wants to discuss that in the comments, just please be respectful. This video is just a silly man quoting and talking all about news that's happened in the past week in theme parks. So yes, respect in the comments is good. And it would also be good if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next week.